Hi, I'm Dynamite, and this is my review for RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars, Season 6, Episode 5. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget about that bell notification button so you can follow along weekly. I do want to take a quick second to apologize for falling behind on my schedule. I have been extremely busy between working full-time and trying to get my audition video ready for the North Bay Drag Persona competition that's coming up. Voting for this competition will be between August 13th and the 23rd, and you can get your votes in by following along on North Bay Pride's social media. I'll make sure that I continue to keep people updated about this competition and let you know when my video is posted and voting begins. So we kind of start things off with Jan going through the votes and coming to the conclusion that everyone voted unanimously for Yara to go home. Jan, however, had voted for Akira, and she informs Akira that if she won, Akira would have been the one packing her bags. Jan had a pretty lame excuse for why she did this, I think. She said that she thought everybody else was going to vote for Akira, and she didn't want to stray away from the pack, basically. I think this is a terrible reason for making a decision, and if you're going to vote for somebody, it should be based on your opinion of their performance and nothing more. The group ends up having another quick little discussion about whether Trinity is trade or not. This seems to be an ongoing conversation in the workroom. So trade is defined as a young, hyper-masculine looking gay man, usually black or Latino in descent, typically dressing in urban clothing and playing to the thug stereotype. Do I think that Trinity is trade? I'm gonna have to go with yes. Out of drag, he is a very masculine presenting man, and he has great fashion and urban style of clothing. So by definition, Trinity is trade. I would also hit that. RuPaul arrives to the workroom to inform the queens that they will be hosting their own intimate, provocative, and entertaining chat shows. This is like a parody of the Red Table talk shows that we get, like The View, and they have 3 topics that they have to be talking about. So the first group is discussing body, and it's comprised of Ginger, Jan, and Pandora. The next group is discussing sex, and for this group we have Eureka, Trinity, and Akira. And then the final topic is motherhood, and that group is made up of Kylie, Scarlett, and Raja. Scarlett and Ginger kind of battled it out a little bit, and Ginger really wanted the topic of motherhood because she's trying to become a surrogate parent. Good for Ginger. I think that's awesome, and I think that they're going to be an amazing parent. However, through a game of rock, paper, scissors, Ginger loses and Scarlett takes the topic. So again, this ends up being a really intimate episode, and we learn a lot about the remaining cast. Pandora opens up about her body issues and issues that she's been having with aging. Raja talks about her relationship with her mother and growing up in a religious southern state. And Trinity opens up more about her status of having HIV and some of the stigma that surrounds this disease. I found all 3 of the topics were really interesting topics. If I had to pick a topic for myself, I'd probably go with sex or body. I would want to stay the hell away from motherhood. I think it, again, is an interesting topic, but it's something that's a little bit too personal. I really would only be able to speak about my relationship with my mom, who I love dearly, but I don't have a whole lot of experience in that field myself, and it's a really difficult subject for a lot of people in the LGBTQ plus community. So as the queens are getting ready to go film, Scarlett ends up confronting Kylie and asks her if she feels like she's got enough energy to be the mediator of this table talk. I found this was kind of an uncomfortable moment. It was fun to see because it's probably some of the most controversy or conflict that we've had in this season so far. But it was uncomfortable to me because both of these queens are kind of outspoken, and right away Kylie got defensive and basically was like, oh, well, if I'm not high energy enough, then why don't you do it? I think Scarlett realized too that maybe she should have just kept her mouth shut. The first topic being filmed is sex, and during this conversation we learn that Akira actually had begun transitioning to female, and throughout this journey she kind of realized that she indeed is a man. However, she's gotten a lot of work done, and when she was transitioning, her name was Kiki, and Kiki has had a lot of intimate moments. Eureka kind of implies that she'll take it wherever she can get it, and she's a big sex animal. And Trinity states that she has zero interest in having sex in drag. I can completely relate to this. I find it's really uncomfortable, just the thought of having sex in drag, because I identify as a cis male, and drag's not comfortable. It's a lot of fun, but it's hot and sweaty and sticky. It's just not for me. During this pink table talk, Trinity also discusses her status of being positive with HIV, and she touches a bit on the stigma that surrounds this and how it's really difficult for people living with HIV to open up about it with other people. A lot of people are afraid to go get testing done in fear of finding out that they're positive. However, she also mentions undetectable equals untransmittable. I think this is a really important message for people to learn. We now have amazing medicine where a person who has HIV, if they're taking their medicine regularly and daily, can lower their viral load to less than 100 points per million, and at that point they can no longer pass the virus on to somebody else. So you equals you, and you should still always use a condom. Finally, for this table talk, Eureka discusses the difference between being attracted to somebody and fetishizing somebody or part of somebody. So again, I ran into it with people who are attracted to drag queens, only caring about me being in drag and how sexy they think I am when I'm in drag. And there's nothing more to me than being objectified, which is kind of weird. Our next topic is motherhood. And I think Scarlett's moms seem like lovely women. It was cool for her to open up and tell us a little bit about her mothers and how they met. And again, I think they seem like really sweet women. It was weird though, which RuPaul mentions during the critiques, how Scarlett would kind of turn on and off from being a character and being herself. I don't know if I would go as far as RuPaul to say that it made me very uncomfortable, but it's one of the things that annoys me the most with drag queens on RuPaul's Drag Race. I found Raja's story was extremely touching. I think she had the most memorable moment from this episode, talking about her mother, her relationship with her mother, and not being able to meet the expectations that her mom had for her growing up and growing up in the church. I think most little queer boys can kind of relate to this idea of not being masculine enough, not bringing home a girlfriend. Kylie had a really important message during all of that though. I thought it was really sweet how she said,
"Don't let that hurt child make your grown-up decision."
think a lot of people need to hear that message. And then she went ahead and lightened the mood by talking about how she can't have children, so she just has a sweet little doggy named Gizmo. Gizmo seems adorable, and all in all, I think Team Motherhood did a pretty good job. And the final chat show topic was body. And for this one, thank God for Ginger Minge. Jan's energy was at an 11, like it always is, and Pandora's energy was at a 2. Jan is another example of kind of turning on that character that really annoys me. Something that, again, Laganja was criticized for in season 6, and I think it would kind of be helpful if someone were to mention Laganja to Jan when they're giving her those critiques. I think then maybe it would click.
Laganja, I didn't want to make it that everybody was attacking you. I feel very attacked!
Relax.
Anyway, I was glad that they discussed body dysmorphia and drag beauty standards. Another thing that I think is extremely important to discuss and to kind of dispel. On that note, big queens, especially in RuPaul's Drag Race, I feel are held to a different beauty standard than the small, skinny, flamboyant queens. So a big girl like Eureka, for instance, would never be able to get away with things that somebody like Violet or Gottmik would do on the runway. Continuing this discussion, actually, even before we started talking about body dysmorphia, Ginger Minge kind of starts the conversation up with informing us about how she had obstructed bowels as a child, and that led to her becoming fat. I think, no judgment towards her, and no judgment for being a big queen. It was just kind of a weird way to tell the story. And then our quiet queen for this group was Pandora, who touched a little bit on her body issues, but more so on issues of ageism and discrimination against older drag queens. I'm only 31 years old, and I catch myself making jokes about being an old gay all the time. A lot of this is because I watch Trixie and Katya, and they make these jokes. I realize they're jokes. I don't internalize these feelings of being old all that much. But it's weird. I remember when I was a kid watching Will and Grace, and they joked about how 30 was the gay 40. I don't know why we are so ageist in our community. In fact, I don't know why the LGBTQ community, particularly white gay males, are so discriminating. But that's the world we live in, and hopefully we just continue to work on it. I really went on a tangent there. Back in the workroom, Raja breaks down and becomes very tearful because she's worried that she opened up too much about her relationship with her mom. She mentions that in a Southern and especially an African American family, it's kind of like what happens in this house stays in this house. Akira had a beautiful quote in this episode.
No, it's not disrespecting. This is letting you know where my hurt comes from.
Right.
And it's not to hurt you, it's to heal us.
I think that's a message a lot of parents need to hear from their children. Kicking off the runway, RuPaul comes out in a shiny yellow dress with gorgeous, gorgeous pink hair. I really, really liked this wig. I wasn't as big of a fan of the dress. There wasn't anything particularly wrong with it, but it wasn't overly exciting. And I, again, have pretty high standards for what Zaldi dresses RuPaul in. The guest judge for this episode was Aisha Taylor, who is the host of Whose Line Is It Anyway? And also the voice of Lana Kane on Archer. Aisha Tyler is hilarious. I think she's a really quick, witty, and intelligent woman. and I really appreciated having her as a guest judge this week. The runway theme is Clash of the Patterns. Trinity's runway was stunning. I was a really big fan of this look. She reminded me of a Wakandan queen or some kind of regal, mature African businesswoman. And I also wrote down Grace Jones. Eureka's runway was also really well done. Eureka is a queen who knows her figure, and she was wearing all these different animal prints on the runway, and this dress was definitely very clashing. Next on the runway, we have Raja, and she is wearing, again, some African prints, and she looks amazing. I thought the look was very matronly. The next queen to hit the runway was Kylie Sonique. I thought this look was extremely confusing. Not to say that she didn't look good, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. She said something about if a fish and a bird made love. It was leopard print and like little blue patches, kind of like a butterfly. So I don't know at all what that had to do with a fish and a bird. Scarlett's runway I thought was stunning. She looked like an old Hollywood model, and I thought it was a really sweet tribute, the way that she printed her grandfather's love letters on her dress. It didn't necessarily have clashing patterns as much as some of the other looks, but it, to me, it was a pretty solid runway. Jan's runway I did not like at all. It was weird. The chap combination with socks was a choice for sure. There wasn't really anything clashing about this look besides the different patterns on the handbags or the shopping bags that she was carrying. So all in all, this look didn't really meet the criteria, and it was kind of just ugly. Ginger's runway was really well done this week with bright contrasting patterns. She was a safari explorer or like a butterfly catcher, and this look really reminded me of Karen from Finance from Drag Race Down Under. Next, we have Pandora, and I thought this was kind of a cute tribute to Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas, but I thought the look was missing something. The hair was well done, but it might have been a little bit too flat, or she was missing like a necklace or something. Maybe she could have done some makeup to make her neck look longer and skinnier. I don't know why I had to do that. That's it for the runway. So my favorite look from this runway was Trinity or Raja. I'm gonna go with Trinity. It was it was a lot more elevated. And my least favorite look from this runway was Jan. Akira, Trinity, and Eureka are told that they are the best team of the week. However, they are all just safe. And instead, the winner of the week is Ginger Minge. I think Trinity or Eureka should have won this episode, but Ginger did well, so kudos to her. Raja and Pandora find out that they are safe, and the bottom queens are Jan, Scarlett, and Kylie. I got really nervous at this point in the episode because I was just starting to really like Scarlett, and Kylie I have been a big fan of since she was on the Christmas special. They did a cute little gag where they tried to trick everyone into thinking Bianca Del Rio was going to be the lip sync assassin for the week. I have to admit, I fell for it. And then they reveal Mayhem Miller as the true lip sync assassin for this episode. I was not a huge fan of the outfit that Mayhem was wearing. It wasn't bad by any means, I just thought the proportions seemed a little weird. And Ginger ends up lip-syncing with Mayhem to Phone by Lizzo. Ginger wins the lip-sync, which was completely deserving. She did a really good performance. She was very, very funny, and I think the way that she improvised and mocked Mayhem Miller throughout the performance was the highlight of the lip sync. I'm gonna have to say I'm still Team Raja for the win, but I also think that Ginger, Eureka, and Kylie all kind of have a good chance of making it to the top, if not winning. Ginger, after winning this lip sync, wins $30,000 and ended up giving $2,500 to each of her teammates. And Ginger picks Scarlett to be the next contestant for the game within a game, whatever that means. So I'd like to thank you all for watching this review, and in my next review video, I'll be discussing the Rumerican Horror Story Overacting Challenge. Until then, bye-bye.